Hi there, my name is Kate. Thank you so much for joining me. In this workshop, I'll be taking you through Cricut Design Space to help you get started on your Cricut journey. As we go through, please pause and rewind wherever you need to as you make along. And I'll pop titles on the screen between each section, just so that you can clearly skip to a certain point if you need to. So let's get started. You should have at home with you your device, so a computer, a smartphone or a tablet, and your Cricut machine. I'm going to be using the Explore 3 today, but you can follow along with any of the Cricut machines at home. You'll also need to have downloaded Design Space in advance onto your device. It's completely free. You just go to design.cricut.com and follow the instructions. So first off, what is Design Space? Well, it's the Cricut app that you use to control your Cricut machine. You just download it onto your device, and that is where you design or choose your creative projects that you'd like to make. So let's get started. If you open up your computer with Design Space, let me show you what to do.
Okay, so I've opened up Design Space on my computer and this is what the home screen looks like. At the top, you have all of your own projects that you have created yourself. You can go into those at any point and recreate them or customize them. And then below that are loads of other resources on Design Space. So you've got videos that you can check if you'd like help with any different techniques. And then underneath that, you have lots and lots of different categories of projects that you might like to browse and make. To be honest with you, I don't usually spend too long on the homepage. It's really nice for browsing the projects. The categories on the homepage are constantly changing, so it's a really good way of seeing the new projects which are available to make in Design Space. But the two main areas that I'd like to draw your attention to on this page before we move on to the next section are firstly up here in the top right hand corner. If you click on this drop down, you just need to select whichever machine you're working with. So I'm going to be working with the Explore 3 today. I'll press that button and my experience on Design Space will be optimized for that machine. Secondly, up here in the top left hand corner on this hamburger menu, if you go down and click on Settings. By the way, if you're working on a tablet or a phone, you'll see the Settings menu is along the bottom rather than in the top left. Click on Settings, and in here you'll be able to toggle between imperial or metric, depending on which is your preferred unit of measurement. I prefer working in metric, but you may prefer imperial. Okay, so now we're ready to go on to the second page on Design Space, which to be honest is where all the magic happens. And so to get there, you can either click on New Project here on the left or up here in the top right. And if you click on New Project, that will take you to the blank canvas, which is this page here. And this is where you design all of your projects. We're going to start off today by making a vinyl sticker to go onto a water bottle. Down the left here, we have the Insert menu, and these are all the different things that you can insert onto your canvas. If you're working on the app on a tablet or a phone, you'll see all of these different options along the bottom of your screen instead of on the left-hand side. So you can add shapes, text, images, all sorts of different things to your projects. Let's start off by adding an image. So I will just click on Image. And then in the search bar over here, you can literally type in whatever you like. I'm going to type in the word cherry today because I would quite like to have a cherry on my project. Okay, so as you can see, we've got 290 different options for cherry. So that's loads and loads of different options. But as you can see, lots of those images have this little green A in the top left-hand corner. And that means that that image is part of the Cricut Access subscription. So for £7.49 per month, you can get access to all of the projects, images and fonts that are a part of the Access subscription service. To download Design Space is free, and actually there is loads and loads of content on here which is completely free to use as well. So you don't need to subscribe to Access, but if you're anything like me, you'll start using it and just not turn back. If you'd prefer not to subscribe, you can still use any of these images, projects or fonts. You just need to do a pay-as-you-go system instead. If you do choose that method, it means that once you've paid for an image, font or project, it's then yours for the whole duration of you using Design Space. Whereas if you subscribe to Cricut Access and you use loads of different projects and fonts, if at any point you decide to stop your subscription, then you'll lose any of those projects, fonts and images that you have previously used. So it's really up to you. My best advice to you is to kind of get your head around Design Space, use it a few times, and then everybody is entitled to a 30-day free trial. And during that 30 days, use it as much as you can. So really get to know the types of projects that are included, the images and the fonts, and then you'll be able to decide if it's for you or not. In the meantime, let me just show you, if you don't subscribe to Cricut Access, there is a way of filtering out just the free projects and images for you to use. So on this filter down here on the left, I'm going to click the plus next to ownership, and then I'm going to select the free button. And now you can see there's still lots of images in here, but far fewer than there were before. So I am going to choose this cute cherry design here. If you'd like to choose others, you can click those as well. So say I also quite like the look of this one, select both of those. And as you can see, they pop up on the bottom of my screen. I'm going to click Insert Images, and they'll both appear on my canvas. I think I do prefer this one. So this one here, I'm just going to click on the cross and delete it from my canvas. If I click my cursor onto that image, you can see that there are 4 commands, one in each corner. The first is the delete button, which I just showed you with the other image. On the top right, there's a rotate button, which is really handy. Bottom right, there is a size adjustment button. So if you click that and drag your cursor, it will adjust the size of your image. And then the bottom left is an aspect ratio button. So if I unlock that padlock and then again adjust the size, you can change it in whatever aspect ratio you like. To go back to how it was before, I'm just going to click on undo up here on the top left. On the app version, you'll see that along the bottom of your screen. You can also change many things about this image, or indeed any other element on your canvas, by using the edit menu across the top here. So you'll see once I have my element highlighted, the edit menu across the top comes alive. So for example, you can change the sizing really precisely. Say I knew that I would like the width of this cherry to be 3 centimeters wide. I would just click in that width box there, type the number 3, and it would change the size precisely on the canvas. You can also change the color of the element, which is a really good idea as you go along. So I'm going to make the cherries red. I'll highlight them on my canvas, go up to this square of color here on the top menu. On the app, you'll see that along the bottom in the edit menu. Click the square and then choose whatever color I would like. It's important to make sure that the colours are correct, because when you come to actually make your project, each colour will be split out onto a separate layer. And it also reminds you of exactly what colour material to feed through your machine for which layer. Now, as well as the cherries, I would like a name on my project as well, in a different coloured vinyl. So I'm going to click on text here on the left-hand side. That's along the bottom on the app. You'll see this text box come up, and I'm going to type in my daughter's name. As you can see, it appears on the canvas like this. To change the font, you just highlight your word by clicking on it and then click the drop down in the edit menu up here. As you can see, there are loads and loads of different fonts that come up. Sometimes it can take you ages to choose which ones you like. Again, many of them are part of the Cricut Access subscription, but lots of them are for free as well. If you don't have Cricut Access, you can quickly see which ones are free by selecting System up here. And by doing that, all of the fonts down here now are completely free. I'm going to uncheck this only kerned fonts box for the time being. I'll come back to that a little bit later on, but you won't see that if it's on the app. Okay, the font that I'm going to choose today, I know is called Babette. So I'm going to type that in, and there it comes. I'll choose that one. and then you'll see my font change to the Babette font. Okay, I'll just move it into the center and make it slightly larger so that you can see what I'm doing. So you'll generally find that when you move the letters closer together, your font looks much, much nicer, especially if you're using a cursive font like this. There are two ways of doing that. Firstly, with the word highlighted, you can go to letter space, which is in the edit menu on the app or up here on the desktop. I'm going to reduce the letter space, and as you can see, the letters start moving closer together. However, they're not moving exactly how I'd like them to, so I'd like to actually kind of move them manually myself. But at the moment, any changes that I make to this word happen to all of the letters at once. So in order to make changes to each letter individually, I need to do something called ungroup. So with the word highlighted, I'll go up to this Actions menu on the right-hand side and click on Ungroup. You'll notice that as I did that, each letter is now a separate layer. Let me just click Undo and show you again. So I'll highlight the word, keep your eye on this Layers menu down here as I click Ungroup, and now we've got a separate layer for each letter. So for example, let me just move the cherries out of the way. I'd like this L to be a little bit larger, so I can move it individually and then drag it to make it larger than all of the other letters. I'm pretty happy with how these other letters are sitting, but if I wanted to, I could just move them separately until I was completely happy with them. Okay, that's looking great. So now I can drag my cursor over the whole word again and click Group. And now that I'm happy with them, they're all staying around nicely grouped, and anything that I do will affect all of those letters at once. So I think I'll cut Lyra out in a lovely lilac colour today, and I'll keep the cherries red. Pop them next to each other like that, and I think we're good to go. Let me just quickly go back in and show you what that kerned fonts option does on the desktop version. So I'll click on text, type the same name in, and this time when I click on the drop down by the font, you'll see that the only kerned fonts option has been ticked. So that means that all of these fonts here, if I was to select any one of those, I wouldn't need to go through the process of sorting out the letter spacing on my word, because Design Space would have automatically done that for me. So if I click on this one here, for example, there, doesn't that look lovely? So the letters are already joined up really beautifully, and I don't need to mess around with the kerning at all. You may want to ungroup and, for example, make that L larger again or move the letters around, but you don't need to. As I say, that's only available at time of creating this video on the desktop version. You may find that it changes because they are always coming out with updates to all the different devices. But for now, that's not available on a tablet or a phone. Okay, I think we're ready to make our project. So let's click on Make It. We will bypass this page for now. I'll come back to that later. So as you'll see, there is a separate mat for each colour or each layer. So there's one here for the red and one here for the lilac. Oh my goodness, that is not what we were looking for. So as you can see, Design Space has moved the letters around to try and optimize my piece of vinyl. So that is not how I designed them and not how I wanted them to look. Let me show you why that's happened. So I'll click on Cancel and go back to the canvas. So what we had done with this word was click Group. But actually, Group is just a design tool, so it will group elements together on your canvas. But actually, when you come to make your project, it bears no relation on where the elements are going to stay in relation to each other. Instead, what we need to do is use a different command, and that is attach. So if I highlight the letters again by dragging my cursor over them, and then down here in the Actions menu, I click on Attach. Actions is along the bottom of your screen if you're working on the app. And now, what should happen when I go to make it, just ignore this screen for now, is, yeah, there we go, that's perfect. So that is exactly how I would like the letters to appear on my piece of vinyl. However, there's one thing that we can do even better. So if you look really closely, you'll still see a cut line in between each letter on my design. But I don't want that. I want this lovely name, which is all joined up, to be one continuous piece of vinyl. So in order to achieve that effect, I'll click cancel, go back onto my canvas. I'll select the letters again, and this time I'm going to click on weld. And by welding those letters, they not only become one layer then on my layers panel over here on the right, but also if you look carefully, let me enlarge them, you can see that there are no cut lines in between the letters. So this is just going to be one nice continuous piece of vinyl. One thing to bear in mind is that you can't unweld. So if you decide that you'd like to weld something together later on in a project, you can't unweld it. Whereas if you attach something, you can detach at a later point in your design process. Okay, we're good to go. So let's click on Make It. And this time, let me tell you a little bit about this page here. So this is asking you to choose how you're going to load your materials into your machine, and you'll have 3 to 4 options. There'll be an extra option if you're on the Joy. So your first choice is without mat. So that is for Cricut Smart Materials. Materials that you load straight into your machine without the need for a mat. Secondly, if you're not using Smart Materials, or you may be using an offcut of Smart Materials that will need to be placed onto a mat, you need to choose this option. So that's for regular vinyl, regular iron-on, or any other non-smart material that you place onto a Cricut mat. Or you may be loading certain layers of your project on with Smart Materials and others on a mat. And I'm going to choose that option today so that I can show you both ways of feeding materials into your machine. This is the preview page. Okay, so for the red layer here, I'm going to be feeding that on a mat because I'm going to be using an offcut of vinyl. So on this drop down here, I'll click on mat, and you can see that immediately the image changes to reflect one that mimics exactly what the Cricut mat looks like. So the measurements are exactly the same. There are a few other things on the left-hand side here that I want to draw your attention to. So firstly is project copies up at the top. If you'd like to make more than one of these stickers, you simply increase the number and click apply. Oop. And then you'll see automatically I've got 6 cherries up on my mat instead of just 1. I actually only want to make 1 today, so I'll make that back down to 1. Click apply and we're back to 1. Another command that I'd like to draw attention to is mirror, this one here. If I click mirror, you'll see that my image on the mat goes into the mirror image. You'll always need to remember to click this button if you are working with iron-on. We don't need to do it with vinyl today, so I'm going to leave it as it is, but for iron-on, you must remember to select that option. For the pink layer, or lilac, I think it's going to be a bit more pink. I am not going to be using the mat because I'm going to be using Smart Materials, so I can leave this option as without mat for now. Okay, one other thing to mention actually is you can move your design around at this point. So say for example your offcut or piece of vinyl that you're using is actually it doesn't fit where you've got your image on the mat. You can move it on your mat and then it will cut exactly where you've put it. So it's really handy if you've got a bit of a fiddly shaped piece of vinyl or whatever material it is that you're using. You can manipulate and move your design around so that it fits exactly onto the piece of vinyl that you've got on your mat. Okay, let's click on continue. So at this point you must make sure that you've got your machine turned on so that Design Space can pick it up. If it doesn't, you may need to go into your Bluetooth menu and just find your device. And if you have trouble connecting, you may need to turn your Cricut machine off and on again so that it picks it up. Okay, so this is where we're going to tell our machine which material it's going to be cutting. So for the pink name, I'm going to be using Smart Vinyl, and it's actually removable. So I'll click on Smart Vinyl Removable. If the material that you're using doesn't appear on these popular items here, you just click on Browse All Materials and then scroll through to choose the one that you're using. Anything with a little C on the right hand side here is an official Cricut product. So you'll find that your machine is calibrated perfectly to cut any of those. You may find you need to slightly fiddle around with the pressure if it's not an official Cricut material. If there's a material that you use really regularly, I would recommend clicking the little star here, and what that does is adds it to favourites. So next time when you go into favourites, that will be there for you. Okay, so we're using Smart Vinyl Removable. As I just mentioned, if you're using a non-Cricut official product, you may need to play around a little bit with the pressure. You can do that here by clicking more or less. But if you're using an official Cricut product, you really shouldn't need to do that, unless your blade is a bit blunt and you've had it for a while. On step 2, Design Space is telling you that you need no tool in clamp A, your fine point blade in clamp B, and then you can load your material and press the load unload button on your machine. So as you can see, the load unload button is now flashing on my machine. I'm going to take my Smart Materials, and because they're Smart Materials, I can simply load them immediately into my machine without the need for a mat. So I'll just slot those in and then press the load unload button. And then when the machine's ready to go, you can just press the go button on your machine. And when it's finished, which happens super fast if you're using Smart Materials, you press the unload button once again. So back into Design Space. And this time I need to choose the material for the red layer of my design. And actually this time I'm going to be using, so we already know this is on a mat, and I'm going to be using Premium Vinyl Removable. So I can click this one here. Again, if it wasn't on my popular list, all I would do is go down and choose it from this menu here. I'm going to be using the green mat, so I will peel the protective sheet off the top and then take my piece of vinyl and place it on the top left-hand corner of my mat. There we go. You may want to use this wonderful brayer tool just to press your material down nice and securely on your mat. Do that here, just out of shot. Right, we're ready to go. So again, the load unload button is flashing on my machine. So with my mat in place, pushed right up into my machine, I'm going to press the flashing load unload button. And then when the machine's ready to go, you can press go on your machine. And then unload at the end. To peel any material off the mat, you just turn the mat over and peel the mat back from your material to make sure that you don't distort the material at all. And I can show you how we do weeding. Right, so I've cut out our 2 designs here, the name and the cherries, and I'm going to need the trusty weeding tool. All that you do is you push the point of the tool under the vinyl in the corner of your design so that it's away from your actual cut design, and then gently peel it back. And you should see your design revealed on the carrier sheet. Just get these last sections. Okay, so there are the cherries, and let's do the same for the name. Hook it under in the corner and then just gently peel it back to reveal our cut design. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, it's so satisfying. Honestly, I never tire of this process. So the question now is, how do we get this design onto my water bottle here? So you're going to need something called transfer tape. I've cut out a piece here which is pretty much the right size for my project. You'll also need a scraper. This is a large scraper. It also comes in a half-size version as well. You peel the back off your transfer tape, Keep this piece of backing because you'll need it again in a moment, and then place it onto your design like so. I'm going to turn it over and then using my scraper tool, apply pressure across the back of your design so that it transfers the vinyl onto the transfer tape. When you're ready, you can peel back your backing and you should find that your design is now attached to the transfer tape. If it's not, you can just apply a little bit more pressure and then keep going until it's attached. That's perfect. And now I'm also going to add the cherries to the design, like that, there, and go through the same process. There we go. How cute is that? I'll show you on there. It looks so lovely. It's hard for you to see the pink in this light, but it looks lovely. So now all I need to do is take my water bottle, place my design onto the bottle like so. Again, you can use your magic scraper tool and then gently peel back so that your vinyl is attached to the water bottle. There we go. How cute is that? You can reuse transfer tape many times, which is why I said to keep the backer, because if you just place the transfer tape back onto the backer, you can reuse this piece, say 10 times. It should keep going for you. When you've finished making a project, you can save it just by pressing save here. And I'll call this one Lyra Cherries Sticker. If you'd like to, you can save it to a collection just to make it a bit easier for you to find your projects. Okay, so now we're going to make a ready to make project. These are projects that have already been designed and are available on Design Space. Some are free and others are paid for and part of the Cricut Access subscription. You'll find that some ready to make projects are customizable, whereas others are set up and ready to go without the option of customization. Okay, let's start with a blank canvas again. Here on the insert menu on the left hand side or along the bottom on the app, you'll see projects. So I'll click on projects and you'll see lots of projects appear on your screen. The ones that appear change all the time. They're usually seasonal or topical. So it's quite a nice way of seeing what's new or relevant in Design Space. But obviously you can search by whatever parameters you would like. So if I go up here onto this drop down by all categories, say I would like to make something using iron-on. I would scroll down to iron-on and all the iron-on projects will appear on my screen. But I might like to narrow it down even further and say I'd like to make a bag. So I can just type in bag in the search bar, click on search, and then all of the iron-on bag projects will appear for me to choose from. Again, there is a way of searching for free projects if you don't subscribe to Cricut Access. And to do that, you just click on the drop down and search under free. Oh, let's get rid of bag. So here are some free bag projects, but let's just say we want to search for all the free projects. And there are still loads and loads of projects to choose from. Today, I'm going to make a card project to show you how to use pens in your machine. So I'm going to type in the word tag into the search bar and we're going to be making these card gift tags right here. So if you click on a project, you'll see that the first screen that comes up is a really nice overview of the project that you've chosen to make. It's got some photographs at the top and then it tells you if the project is tricky or if it's easy, roughly how long it might take, what the finished size is, what materials you need, and then how to actually make and assemble your project as well. It sometimes even has videos at the bottom. If you're happy to make the project exactly as it is, you can just click on Make It. Sometimes the Customize button isn't even available, so you'll need to click on Make It. But in this instance, I would like to customize these tags by adding our own name onto them. So I'm going to click on Customize. And you will see that the project miraculously appears on our canvas, all set up and ready to go. It's so brilliant. We're just going to make one tag today. So I'm going to highlight these two here and get rid of those. And let's just work with this one tag here and customize it. So let's click on text on the left-hand side and type in a name that we'd like it to draw onto our tag. There we go. You can move the name along, and as we learned before, you can play around with the orientation and the sizing to get it in exactly the right position for your project. There we go. It's my friend Carol's birthday tomorrow, so I'm going to make this gift tag for her present. Perfect. Okay, now at the moment, you can see that this word, this name, Carol here, if you look on the right-hand side, it's going to cut this name because it said basic cut on the layer, which is the name. So if I highlight the name, you'll see that's the one highlighted here. It's the text and it says basic cut. We don't want our Cricut machine to cut the name on the gift tag. We want it to write it. So let me take you through the steps to tell your machine how to make that change. First of all, with the name highlighted, if I go up to Operation here on the Edit menu, it's along the bottom on the app. At the moment it's saying Basic Cut, which is the default. If I click that drop down, as long as you've got Design Space set to the correct machine, all of the different options which are available on your machine will be shown here in that drop down menu. So say, for example, you're working on a Joy, you might have cut, draw, and foil. And if you were working on a Maker, you would have loads of different options, including deboss, engrave, and all sorts. I'm working on the Explore 3, so I've got cut, draw, foil, score, and then print and cut. I would like my Cricut machine to write this name, so with the name highlighted, I'm going to click on Pen. And as you can see, not only does it change to pen over on the layers menu, but also we've changed to the outline of the word. So now the pen would follow that outline. But actually, I don't want my pen to outline the word. I just want it to write it normally. Let me show you how to make that happen with your Cricut machine. First of all, when you're choosing a font on the drop down, I'll untick only kerned fonts. On the filters section here, you'll see that there's one option which says writing. So let's check that box. And now any of these fonts here which appear are all fonts that can be written. I'm going to choose this font here. And then once you've chosen the font that you want to be written, you just need to tell your machine that you would like the writing style. So with your word highlighted and up beside the font, you'll see a style drop down. At the moment it's on regular, but what I can now choose, because I know I've chosen a writing font, is the writing option. And then you will see that your word changes just to a single, lovely, neat, drawn version of your font. Perfect. Okay, so there's one more thing that we need to do before we click on Make It. And if you remember, if I was to click Make It now, we haven't attached the word to the tag. So actually my machine wouldn't know that we would like that word written, that name written right there on that tag. So I'm going to select all the elements on our canvas and click Attach. And now it will be very clear to our machine that it needs to write that name onto that tag like that. So let's click on Make It. I'm going to be using Smart Materials this project because I'm going to be using sticker cardstock, but if you're using regular card, you'll want to choose On Mat and pop a piece of card onto a mat for this project. Okay, we're good to go. So let me click Continue. I'm using Smart Paper sticker cardstock today, so I'm going to select that one, but just remember to click on Browse All Materials to find whichever material you're using. Select that, and then it's going to tell me that we need a pen in clamp A and the fine point blade in clamp B. So to pop the pen into clamp A, you simply open the clamp up, take your pen, take the lid off, have the arrow pointing forwards and push down until it clicks. And then you can close the clamp again, and we've got the fine point blade already loaded into clamp B. The load unload button here is flashing, so it means it's time to load our material into our machine. Since I'm using Smart Materials, I don't need a mat. And then once I'm ready with the material pushed into the machine, I can click the load unload button. And once the go button starts flashing, you can press that too. It's finished drawing the green pen section on our tag. And so if I go back to Design Space, there's a screen telling me to load the Midnight pen into our clamp. So I'm going to open the clamp up. I actually want to use a gold pen, so I'm using a gold one. Push it down, close the clamp, and then press the go button once again. Okay, once the machine is finished cutting and drawing, you can press the unload button. Let's take the pen straight out, pop the lid back on. And our project has been cut. With projects like this, you can just peel your labels straight off the backing paper, and then that means you'll have no wastage for the rest of this card. And this lovely sticker gift tag is ready to go straight on my friend's present.
Well, goodness me, what a lot of ground we've covered in this workshop. I've shown you around Design Space, we've designed and made our own project, and also made and customised a ready-to-make project from the Cricut library. I really hope you've enjoyed the workshop, and I hope you've managed to make along. Just remember, you can rewind, pause and watch back as many times as you like. I hope you've picked up lots of hints and tips to help you along with your Cricut journey. Just remember, if you've got any other questions at all, you're always welcome to reach out to me at makerykate.com, and we have loads and loads of resources at Cricut to help you whenever you're in need. So you can follow us on social media, check out our blog, and also, most importantly, there is tons of help at help.cricut.com. I really hope that you enjoy using your Cricut machine even half as much as me. Honestly, I absolutely love it. It's changed my life. I use it all the time. So good luck, happy making, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.